Hi, everybody, and welcome to Exegetically Speaking, a podcast of the friends and faculty of Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, Texas. My name is David Capes, and I am the Senior Research Fellow at the Lanier Theological Library and a former dean up there in Wheaton at the School of Biblical and Theological Studies. Our purpose in these podcasts is really very simple. We want to promote the study of biblical languages, Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, so we can read the Bible more faithfully, study it more fully, and not just read it, but to live it. Joining me today on Exegetically Speaking is Rabbi Steven Bob, a friend of mine there at Wheaton College. He is the unofficial campus rabbi at Wheaton College. Is that the best way to say it, Rabbi Bob?
That's fine. I like to think of myself that way. My friends at Wheaton smile when I say it. Officially, I'm an adjunct professor, but the unofficial title is campus rabbi.
That way you take care of all the Jewish students who are there at the school, right? Exactly.
Well, more often I'm asked to go into Bible classes and talk about how Jews read certain Bible passages.
Yeah, exactly. And that is an amazingly helpful exercise. And I had a rabbi that came into my classes at Houston Baptist University for a while that would help me sort of sort some things out, right? Because students would have certain expectations that thought that everybody read the Bible the way they did.
Right.
But in fact, a lot of times we don't read the Bible exactly the same way.
We can read the same text, but with a slightly different point of view or a slightly different accent.
Yes. Now, you're working on some commentaries, medieval commentaries, I guess, on Ezra and Nehemiah.
Right, I'm working on an Ezra and Nehemiah project, a guide to reading Ezra and Nehemiah, which are relatively obscure books in the Jewish community.
Yeah.
I think in some ways in the Christian community as well. It's not the go-to biblical text.
No, I don't know that I've heard a good sermon on Ezra in quite a while, correct,
Yes.
to be honest with you. And I would welcome that. But today we're going to be talking about Isaiah chapter 40, which is a beautiful passage, one of my favorite passages out of the book of Isaiah. And particularly the way that chapter starts is brilliant.
So it's a key passage for the Jewish community liturgically. So we read it each summer on the Sabbath following the 9th of Av. The 9th of Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av, commemorates the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. So the Sabbath after that is called the Sabbath of Comfort. And we read the section that begins with this verse, "Comfort, yes, comfort my people, says your God." Now, this is a verse that I think works better in Hebrew than in English. And that by reading it in English, you miss the subtleties of the Hebrew. Comfort has hard sounds.
Okay, you think of comfort as a very soft-sounding word, right?
Vocally, ends in a t, comfort. It starts with a hard sound, ends in a hard sound.
Right.
The Hebrew word is nachamu.
Nachamu.
So it says nachamu, nachamu. So, I'm well attuned to Hebrew words, but it sounds like a comforting word, nachamu, nachamu. So I think that when we hear the words, it's a comforting sound, nachamu, nachamu.
So just the very word itself speaks of comfort then.
Also, in terms of how it functions within the Bible, we understand these words from Isaiah in chapter 40 to be spoken to the people in Babylonian exile. God is speaking to the people who have been banished from Jerusalem because of the sins of those generations. God caused the Babylonians to come and destroy the temple because the generation had turned away from God. And now the people are in exile in Babylonia, and they could be fearful that God has turned away from them. So God sends the prophet to comfort them, and God says to them, Nachamu, Nachamu. It's these middle sections of Isaiah and Ezekiel, which are these prophets of comfort. It also ties to my work on Ezra and Nehemiah.
How so?
Nehemiah, we call Nehemiah in English Nehemiah. One of my rabbi friends, Rabbi Yechiel Pupko, always makes fun of me when I call him Nehemiah. He tells me, that's not his name.
So how does he want you to say it?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah. Okay.
So if you listen to Nehemiah and Nachamu, they are related words. So the book of Nehemiah, so the main character here in the book of Nehemiah is not surprisingly Nehemiah.
All right.
His whole name is comfort. Somebody who understands Hebrew, who picks up the book of Nehemiah, understands that the leader in that book is a comforting figure. His name is comfort. And the companion book, Ezra means help. Ezra and Nehemiah are comfort and help.
And those are two very good prayers, right? Help and God comfort us, right?
Well, these are the leaders of the return from the exile. We return from the exile with God's help and with God's comfort. So here in the Isaiah verse, the prophet expresses God's comfort to us while we are in exile. And then in Ezra and Nehemiah, we begin the return from the exile, led by two men named Comfort and Help.
What a beautiful message just in the very names. Now, the name Nehemiah or Nehemiah, at the very end are a couple of letters that describe God's name. So is it like God is our help, something like that?
God comforts us.
Okay. So that would be a good way to translate his name.
Yes, oh, for sure. I mean, this is part of the point of what our conversation is, that we read the text in English translation.
Yes.
You're not reading the entire text. You're missing out. You miss out on the subtleties of the language. And no matter how talented the translator is, the translator can't get all the subtleties of the original.
No. And that's why we need to learn Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic to help us.
I'm a Greek student now. I'm learning Koine Greek. A rabbi friend of mine and I are working our way through John in Greek. We're seeing all sorts of subtleties in it, and with great joy that we're now being able to read that text in the original language as well.
Yeah, well, that's terrific. Well, Rabbi Bob, thanks for being with us today on Exegetically Speaking. Thanks to Silvio Vasquez, Rebecca Larson, and Krista Sanchez for helping us to produce this podcast. Thanks as well to Phil Keggy for our music. If you want to study biblical languages, the best place you could do that is Wheaton College. They have an amazing program, one of the best I've ever seen, whether you want to be a graduate or an undergraduate student. So go to the website, www.wheaton.edu, and look for modern and classical languages. Get started today. If you have questions or comments about this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Contact us at exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. That's exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. Thanks for listening.